Hello, I'm Gary Vaughn with Guident Business Solutions. I'm here with Derek, who is the president and CEO, basically, the
Sure.
guru, the do everything of SCM Marketing. And today we're going to just have a discussion on the challenges that individuals have becoming first-time business owners in the small business world. Frankly, we talked just briefly before we came on the air. We talked about all the different jobs that you have to do as a small business owner. One or two of those jobs you're really good at, you're passionate at, it's what drove you to become a business owner. And then you have all these other jobs that you have to be good enough at to run a successful small business.
Yeah. No, and I mean, when you first get into it, I mean, everybody tells you that you're going to be wearing multiple hats. So you got to separate your time from working in the business and working on the business.
Totally, yeah.
And, those are definitely things that you come in kind of prepared for. Managing that time and separating that time to work on the business is always difficult. But I think one of the few hats per se that you wear that you don't necessarily anticipate coming into it is the managing people aspect of it, right? I mean, you can work on the business and in the business all day, but when you have a team of employees under you, there's a different level of responsibility and almost leadership that needs to happen with that.
See, and I think that's a great word. It's the leadership word, right? So what I see happening is a lot of first-time business owners have worked in a business for a long time. They're subject matter experts in certain things that, in the business or in the industry, and that's why you choose that industry to own a business in. The taking it from management to leadership, to getting people to do what you need them to do and like it. It's a quick definition of leadership. That transition sometimes is difficult from people because I've been managing all my career. Now I've got to lead an organization, and it's a couple things that you said really resonate with me is the working in the business and on the business. As a manager, we're in the business. We're doing everything we do on a daily basis, and then leadership is the on the business part, and you have to understand there's got to be a balance between that, with a tendency always as a small business owner to be pulled into the business all the time.
Yeah, I mean, and it's interesting. I mean, I went from the last 5 years prior to owning the business, basically stuck in a silo and building websites all day every day with some client interaction, some employee interaction, with coworkers and stuff. And now those coworkers are now my employees, which is, a different side of things. So you go from having that buddy-buddy relationship to almost not being able to have that and having to step back to be the boss.
Well, and I think what we find is, as the leader, as the owner of the company, you've got an issue. Who do you talk with? Do you talk with your employees? Do you talk with your spouse or your partner? Do you talk with your banker? Who do you talk to about those challenges that you didn't have to have that conversation when you're an employee, but as a business owner, who do you confide in? Who do you work? Who do you work with in order to solve those problems that you didn't have before?
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely a interesting topic because without other business owners to talk to, there's not many people who actually have been in your shoes and understand the problems, going on.
Yeah.
So, even talking to your spouse, like, great listener, she can absolutely listen and understand what's going on. But to give advice,
Right.
that's not necessarily her role, and I don't expect that to be, So it's definitely a matter of making sure you have some people, and I am, blessed with the friends and family who have been in leadership roles in companies,
Right.
other business owners that I'm friends with, and people that I'd gladly refer to as mentors for
Right.
sure.
And I think a lot of times that's an important thing to have people on your who are mentors but who know you personally,
Yeah.
who so that they understand what you are going to do, what you're not going to do. I might say I'm going to do something, and in my with my wife, I've told her, hey, I'm going to do this, and she looks at me like, why would you say that? I know you're not going to do it, and come to find out a couple of months later, I have to admit I didn't do it. But sometimes they know you better than you know yourself, right?
Yeah.
And I think the other thing about about managing a business has to do with the fact that you might be able to understand the operations, the business model, but until you are responsible for the dollars, that changes, it elevates everything, in my opinion. So I have a lot of people say, well, I know how to run a business. I've worked in that business for 20 years. And I'll say, have you ever managed a checkbook? No, I haven't. Well, then you really haven't, been able to manage the whole business. And how has that been with transition?
Yeah, and I mean, so we're a relatively small company. So even when I was, a web developer, I would say that you could feel the motions of the company.
Yeah.
When there was a high, we would feel that, we'd share that. When there was a low, we'd feel that, we share that. And unfortunately, that's something that my employees still have to go through without
does,
having
right?
to specifically see the numbers. But there's definitely a different element to it when the numbers are staring you in the face.
And,
So
and I think that's something that has to be learned by just doing it. It has to be learned by being that owner that has responsibility, because managing the cash flow in your house, your family financials, and family cash flow versus business cash flow and business financials. You can't run your business like you run your home checkbook or checkbook. That kind of like dating myself here, but your home finances, and you turn around and you do the same thing in business, it doesn't work. So there's a different mindset between the two entities in a sense, and you got to learn that cash flow by doing it.
I will say, Gary, just so you don't feel too bad, I did write a personal check
Is that right?
yesterday.
Awesome.
So,
Okay.
But yes, I mean, it's completely different level of balancing a checkbook. I mean, most people, especially in today's age, everything's on their debit card, auto draft.
Right.
Paycheck comes in, paycheck goes out. You don't even really think
Right.
about it, And when it comes to the company, it's every dollar that goes in and out, you have to be aware of.
Totally. And I think it's a more, the challenge that we have in business, and I think anybody who's listening to this is going to say, yeah, I was there at least once in my business career, but you wake up on Tuesday, you got payroll on Thursday, and you're looking for dollars to cover it. And so that's a new challenge that you have as the leader, as the owner of the company, that you didn't have. The check just came every Friday. You know what I mean? And was there enough money to cover it? Did you just have enough money to cover it? That wasn't really a concern. As a business owner, that heightens that whole sense of operation when you're looking at it that way.
Yeah, and I mean, it's a different level of stress than you're used to in the workforce, right? I mean, previously to owning the business, the main stressors were deadlines. Like, as long as I get my work done before this day, there's no stress. But when it gets down to crunch time, you definitely have some stress associated there. Whereas, you're right, when it comes to the business, it's not only does that project get done on time, because we need those dollars to come in to be able to pay payroll.
Different motivation in a sense, but
correct.
I would say that's where you need those mentors, those people who've been there before, who can at least tell you, you're on the right track. It is what it is. It's hard. I mean, that's you're a problem solver. That's why you own a business. It's hard work. That's why not everybody owns a business. But having those mentors that can help you and say, something, yeah, it's hard, but you're on the right track. You're doing the right thing. I've been there before. And I can help you with that. So again, having that network of people that can help you as a small business owner, especially first starting off.
Yeah. Now, like I said, I, was blessed with having those people already in my corner when I became a business owner. And I don't necessarily have any sort of idea of where I would go if that wasn't there. So do you, is there community groups or, for people listening that, maybe thinking of starting a business and are now going, well, crap, I don't have those people. We're talking about how important these people are.
Well, and I think
if you don't have that, where do you go?
Yeah, I totally get it. To go in understanding that you're really good, you're a subject matter expert, basically, you should be, at whatever that business is. And then you got to be good enough at the others. And you're going to be looking for, when you look for advisors like that, you don't necessarily need people who are subject matter experts in your field. They need to understand the business model and have been there before. It doesn't, for example, you don't need a bunch of advisors who design websites. You just need good business people who can give you the advice you need on running a business. Because again, the business model is one thing. So in a sense, you get somebody who understands the business model. You as subject matter expert on marketing and the things that you do, you layer that on top of the business model, and now you've got something that really works well.
Yeah.
You don't have to be that business model expert, versus that person mentoring you or helping you doesn't have to be a marketing expert. It's the business model that you're really looking for. So you find somebody, and I always like to say, again, anybody who's ever worked with me, your banker has to be a partner. I mean, I'm thinking that is that you've got the CPA, you've got your, maybe your lawyer and those people, but you need somebody, in my opinion, who is good at business, who knows you personally, and that you can trust, and you can throw some ideas off of. Basically, it's almost like a business partner for Hawk. You know what I mean?
So kind of, the Teddy Roosevelt approach per se, where he famously said that he doesn't have all the answers, but he has people around him who do.
Yeah, and nobody has all the answers, right? I mean, really. And then who's the other discussion I had earlier today actually is, okay, am I ready for this? Am I ready to be a business owner? Who's ever ready to own a business? Because you're going into an area that is unknown to you, right? So again, but you have to have the passion for it. Have to have passion, because that's what keeps it going when there's no money. And as a business owner, you and I both know there's times when there's no money, so that passion is what drives you. But you got to be in a field that you have that group around you that can help you through some of the tough times.
Yeah, I mean, you also have to be pretty comfortable with being uncomfortable. I mean, you're going to be in a lot of uncomfortable positions.
Well, if anybody who's been in business through this pandemic and everything else, business is usually a moving target. It's a moving target on steroids, the way things are going, right? So the idea, but we have to stick to the route that got us where we are today. So, in your business, what you do in the marketing side, what you do in the social media side, and the web design side, that's you stick to that. You stick to that. The core competencies that you have, your subject matter expert areas. And today is necessarily not the day to jump into something else right now. What we're really doing is we're getting down to what we really do well, and do that really well, and not spread out right now, because we just, again, it's such a moving target that we get too fragmented, and all of a sudden we start getting a weaker foundation for our business.
Yeah, and I mean specifically with the whole pandemic thing going on, companies that we work with have had to make the decision of, well, do we cut our marketing team, or do we start cutting people? And when you have to deal with those types of emotional decisions, unfortunately, we see the wrong end of that every now and then.
And that's unfortunate, because honestly, and I see that also where people say, well, because of the pandemic and because of the way people's buying habits have changed, I don't have the sales, I don't have the revenue I used to have, so I have to cut back on expenses. It's easy to turn around and cut back on marketing. That's not the right answer as far as I'm concerned, because the marketing is what gives you that exposure, so that when I only have so much money to spend, who am I going to spend it with? And the marketing is what gives that customer the direction of where to spend that dollars that I have.
Yeah, and I mean, I always like to view marketing as the first step in the sales process, right? I mean, without leads to pitch your business to, you're talking to the wall, right?
No, I totally agree. So, marketing is not, again, that wouldn't be the first thing I would slash. There's, when I get into businesses, you look at the expenses first, and everybody used to say, well, okay, the boss told me I can't buy a paperclip, okay? Well, there's a reason for it, because if you look at all the drawers that you have around here, you probably have enough office supplies and things like that. That's just one little area, but
Hmm.
there's a lot of opportunity to save if we really buckle down on what we're spending before we start cutting some of the essentials.
Yeah. And that was definitely one of the things that we had to go through, with the pandemic. I mean, we sat down, looked at every line on our statements, and just, do we need this? Do
Right.
we need this? Do we need this? And honestly, you get so used to that number amount on that expense line
Right.
that you're like, our expenses are this much a month. And if you don't look at it line by line, there's things that slip through the cracks after a while.
Well, we're spending that because we always have spent that much, right?
Yeah.
But go back to the marketing side though. When a company decides that they're going to cut marketing, do they really know what they're cutting? Have they had a conversation with their marketing person, their professional who's managing the marketing, to say what makes this up? Tell me what this marketing are doing. What are you doing for me? Are you doing the social media? Are you managing the leads? Are you coming in with there's a website activity that you're doing? What really does, because marketing can be, we can think we know what marketing is, but we really don't know what's happening behind the curtain that professionals in the field are doing for our business. And so when we think we're going to go and cut marketing, we really, as business owners, we really understand what are we really cutting, and
Yeah.
how's that going to affect me, not today, but a month from now when the leads start to trail off, or my social media doesn't have the visits that it used to have, and all of a sudden I'm looking at going, oh, it's so easy for me to blame that on the pandemic, let's just say,
Yeah.
and really it was a decision for me to cut marketing, and this is a result of the dollars I saved, and are they really saving me dollars at the end of the day?
Yeah, and I mean, I'm fortunate to have, an amazing team behind me who has set those expectations for our clients so that,
Totally.
When business decisions like cutting marketing happen and they have to do with us, I mean, we're really an extension of their business. They view us that way, and, see us more as a marketing advisor, right? I
Right.
mean, anytime that, they have questions about, well, should we do this? I saw this on Facebook. I saw this, those types of conversations are ones that we're having regularly with our clients, and just setting that expectation, and has allowed us to keep most of our clients through the pandemic.
Well, and I think it's the education side of it, and I think that's what, as a business owner, we better be lifelong learners. We got to always be learning what the new latest and greatest is. At least, keeping our thumb on the pulse of what's happening in the larger economy, and especially now in this environment. But the whole idea is to stay vigilant on what really is driving our business, right?
Yeah, and it's definitely interesting how you're right. Keeping your thumb on current events and everything going on is very important, because there was a time period where things were so questionable of what's going to happen next,
Yeah.
that companies weren't making moves. It was dang near impossible to get a new company to come on board with SCM,
Right.
and we ran into those issues. But as things started to clear up and things became more certain, the future of
Totally.
the economy and that kind of stuff, just simply reaching back out to some of those people who were on the fence when things were not as clear,
Sure.
Easily turn them into some clients.
And what I've seen is even the supply chain caused me a lot of anxiety. I don't know if I'm going to get the product or not. I don't know if I'm going to be able to satisfy my customer. Do I want to market to drive more customers when I'm having a tough time getting the products in or the materials in I need to satisfy the customers I have today? And we can't be short-sighted that way. We have to be thinking about the marketing I'm doing today is for my customer 3 months from now, 6 months from now. It's positioning me in the market for sustainability for the most part.
Yeah.
So I can't let the today be the enemy of tomorrow, and figure that out.
Absolutely. And I mean, there's always things that we can do, as a marketing company to tighten the focus, narrow the focus on who we're targeting with your marketing dollars, to make sure that we're getting the most efficient, dollar per marketing cost.
Yeah, and I think that
possible.
understanding that, what my ROI is on marketing, a lot of people say, well, it's hard to figure it out. It's really, it's a communication. You know, talking back and forth on what it's doing for me and how in my business I can try to get that ROI on my marketing dollar,
Hmm.
and how's that going to be affected if I don't spend the dollars in that marketing?
Yeah,
Uh,
and I mean there are definitely things that are easier to track ROI based than others when it comes to marketing,
yeah,
right? I mean if you have you're going for lead generating ads and that kind of stuff, you see those leads come in, those leads turn into dollars, and we can have that discussion,
right,
right? With other things, you know, I often refer to things that are just brand building, like a billboard, right?
right,
It's not going to sell the lead today, but somebody who's driving by, you know, every
yeah,
day they keep your brand
totally.
in their mind, right?
Having a discussion with you as a business owner, and if I'm the business owner, and we're talking back and forth on what decisions to be made. And I understand you're under the same pressures that I am. You're not, and I want to say just an employee, but you have larger responsibilities to the business, just like I do. You're worried about making payroll just like I am. You're worried about customers just like I am. And so what happens is that conversation is, I would imagine, it's elevated because it's business owner to business owner who basically are working in the same market, probably with the same challenges, and we're trying to help each other out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. This has been a discussion with Derek from SCM Marketing. I'm Gary Vaughn with Guident Business Solutions, and we will see you on the next video.